Hey, yo. Thank you for checking out Cowboy Criminology. I, of course, am your host, Derek Judd, the Cowboy Criminologist. So, usually on Cowboy Criminology, we're getting to the truth behind true crime. And sometimes, well, a lot of times, most of the time, somebody has to experience something horrible, and we sit here and we talk about it and try to learn more about the criminal side. And I've talked a little bit about correctional officers, I've talked a lot about police officers. Both good and bad. But one group that I haven't talked about, and I think it's only appropriate because the second week of April is actually Emergency Telecommunicator Appreciation Week. So if you know somebody who works as a dispatcher for fire, EMS, or law enforcement, you need to thank them. You don't realize how much they do. And when I was going through the police academy, a good friend of mine named Nathan Crawford had worked as a dispatcher. And he and I we sat right across from each other, and we were always giving each other a hard time about one thing or another. By the way, my opinion about the Beatles and John Lennon still have not changed. And I think Glock is just an instrument of the devil because it's a horrible weapon system. Anyway, that's specifically for you, Nathan. But Nathan worked as a dispatcher, and when we were teasing each other one time, we were getting ready to go out on a break, and he made one of those little comments and everything. I said, "You better get on the phone and dispatch some help before you decide to take me on." And everybody laughed about it. Well, when we came back into class, well, this was a couple weeks later. We were sitting in class and we were listening to a 911 call that had come in. And this woman's ex, you could hear the fear in her voice as she's doing everything she can to retreat away from her ex who's stalking her through the house. And you hear him pounding on this door. Boom, boom, boom. And the operator is sitting there talking to this woman and actually hears her being executed by her husband. You can hear when the woman stops breathing, and you can hear how heavily the man is breathing because of all the exertion that he's put out. You can even hear the sirens in the background. And you hear the operator just continue to talk, just trying to get some response from somebody. And after we listened to that 911 call, everybody in class just kind of sat there, and my whole opinion about dispatchers changed. And I started to think about it in terms, and I think Nathan said it best. He said, when officers are rolling to a call, they get there and sometimes it's too late for them to do anything, which is really hard on them. And he said, but for a dispatcher, a lot of times they're on the phone listening to these horrible things happening, and they're trying to get information out, and they're trying to get emergency responders where they need to be. And sometimes there's just this feeling of helplessness that washes over them, and because they're listening to this, and there's absolutely nothing they can do. They've done everything they can. And so when I was doing a peer counseling class, learning how to do trauma-informed counseling with emergency responders, the instructor said something brilliant, and I don't know why it didn't occur to me, but when you're doing a trauma debriefing, you need to include the dispatchers with that, because the dispatchers are painting this picture in their head of what's going on, but they've already done everything they can, and everything that happens outside of that is so far beyond their control. And so they are every bit as affected by domestic violence, car accidents, um, even simple things like drowning and choking, things like that. And they often are providing directions for people to do CPR and do the basic first aid, life saving efforts. And to do that, stay calm, talk to this individual who needs your help, desperately needs your help, and is begging you to get resources to them. Um, a good dispatcher is a force multiplier, and any officer who says different, um, well, they're probably an idiot, and they probably don't need to be in law enforcement. But a good dispatcher is a force multiplier. They can make an officer's job so much easier, and they can make an officer's job so much harder. If you ever hear an officer say that they were sent on ghost calls all shift, odds are they probably ticked off a seasoned dispatcher, and that dispatcher is just sending them from one end of their beat to another, and just chasing nuisance calls, things like that, or sometimes calls that don't actually exist. Um, so I want to dedicate this episode to actually 3 dispatchers that I've worked with, and I'll get to them here in a second. But I want to tell y'all, my week started off. I'll be honest, my week kind of started off kind of crappy, but it got better, and it got better because I saw this out of Scottsdale, Arizona. Now, apparently in September, Derek Gregg and Derek, buddy, your name is spelled wrong. It's Derek, but kudos. I've actually never had it. I've never seen it spelled this way. That's different. It's wrong, but it's different. But anyway, so Derek Gregg is an emergency telecommunicator for Scottsdale, Arizona, and he gets this call. It's a 911 call, and he's trying to get information, and she hangs up. Well, he learns it's a female. Anyway, irrelevant to the point of the story. 911 dispatchers are trained that if they get a hang up, their automatic response is to recall that number. Now, the cool thing about most 911 trunks, that's the system that provides 911 services, is as soon as somebody dials 911, the trunk starts recording. So as soon as the phone, the phone, whether it's a landline or a cell phone, makes connection with the trunk, it starts recording. Very, very helpful in court. So Derek gets the call, gets a hang up, calls her back. The woman on the phone says that she'll call him back. Okay. If a 911 operator is calling you back on a phone that you've just called them from, and they hear, "I'll call you back," that is a huge red flag. And so Derek Gregg has access to this awesome system, and I'm not sponsored by anybody, but it's called Rapid Deploy, which is a mapping software to locate callers with pinpoint accuracy. Okay, so using this system, Derek was able to find out that this woman was in a car and it's moving. Now, based on his training and experience, he automatically knew that this was a domestic, something bad was going on. So as he's sitting there, he's still trying to call her back, but he's using this software to get officers to her location. Well, ended up getting law enforcement to intervene. She was taken away from the situation, and He's now being credited with saving her life. Excellent work on his part, excellent use of knowing what resources are available. And instead of just putting a message out and saying, hey guys, we've got this going on, he's actively conducting his own investigation in order to get officers to the right location. And I, this is just such a cool story. And I think I think dispatchers are often kind of humble when they get recognition. One, it doesn't happen very often, and two, like most good first responders, we just look at it as part of the job. And you know what? There's no better feeling for a first responder than knowing that you made the difference on that call. So, uh, Derek Gregg, if you happen to see this, brother, thank you so much for your dedication. Thank you so much for understanding what tools you have, and thank you for having a servant's heart and uh, for getting officers where they needed to be to save that woman, and not just ignoring the call. You know, we talk about in law enforcement when you're learning about traffic stops, we talk about go beyond the stop. Don't just look at what's in front of you. Look at what's not there. What should be there. One huge red flag for me was always seeing a car seat, baby wipes, formula, no toys, no clothes, nothing else, and no baby. Okay, that was always kind of weird to me. All right, so when something seems off and you go beyond, hey, officers in this vicinity, you might want to be aware of this. Derek, congratulations on the recognition. I know you don't think you deserve it, but I think you said it best when you said that a lot of times telecommunicators are the unsung heroes. And you said it yourself, seconds make the difference. And you could not be more right. Thank you for your service. So I've never met Derek Gregg, and I have no association with the rapid deploy system. But man, what an awesome tool to have at your disposal. So there are three dispatchers that I want to personally thank. I worked with them for quite a while, and the first one is Stephanie Wright. When I was a deputy and jail administrator, I will tell you this: at small departments, it's not the FTO who really trains the new guy; it's the dispatcher. The dispatcher will tell you about your radio etiquette, about your 10 codes, about your tone on the radio, and they will warn you about what is going to happen if you don't lose the attitude with them on the radio. The good ones will. Stephanie Wright, she was instrumental in helping me out. She was always so patient and so kind with me. Stephanie, I miss working with you so much. You are so awesome. You are a fantastic dispatcher. I, I don't have enough good things to say about you. The next one is Nick Noel. Nick and I had worked together for several years, and he was when we were working together, he was just a lot of fun. Very knowledgeable about police procedure, and having that knowledge as a dispatcher really kind of made my job easier, not only as a patrol officer but as a supervisor, because when he sent me out on something, I knew I was going to a legitimate call. It wasn't just some nonsense. It was always, he always had all the information that I needed. He was really good about reading back my times for reports. And before I even asked him to print and hold information on whether it's registration on vehicles or driver's license, criminal histories, he was already on it, and he already had a stack for me, ready to go for my report. Nick, you were always a blessing to me. I miss working with you, and I want to thank you for keeping me safe and helping me make look like a rock star when I turned in my cases to the county and district attorneys. Last but certainly not least, Casey DeBose, Casey Works, whatever you're going by this week. Casey came to my agency, and I made a fast friend. You ever just meet those people that just it like immediately? It's like you can't imagine, you've never known life without them. They just immediately make an impact. Uh, Casey was one of these for me, and I'm going to tell a funny story about Casey. It wasn't funny at the time. Um, I was irritated, and poor Casey got so worked up on the call that she actually ended up throwing up because she was so overcome. But the long and short of it is, I stopped an individual and explained to them that pulling over to the right shoulder is safe for both of us. Told the vehicle to stay there, surely thinking that would be the end of it. But no, this individual pulls into traffic, causes an accident. I get on the radio, and there's a little bit of dispute about my tone on the radio. I called in at 1050, which in Texas is a car accident. Casey swears my tone was about 2 octaves higher. And I just said, I need EMS and fire. So I go and check on everybody, and my car accident is spread out over about 300 yards because of the location we were at. So I look over the hill of the road, and I see the entire sky. This is nighttime. I see the entire sky is lit up in red and blue and white lights. And I'm sitting here, and I was like, oh, okay. They must have had somebody close by. What I didn't know is that my dispatcher said, I don't know what happened. I've got an officer out here on the roadway who says there's been an accident. I don't know if he's injured. I don't know what his involvement is, but send everybody. And I will be danged, everybody came. So I'm always a little suspicious about firefighters. My suspicions were confirmed. Firefighters were the first ones on the scene. They're in full turnout gear. And as I'm walking up to ask them to block traffic, 3 of them immediately grab me and start groping me, checking me for injuries. So firefighters scare me now. And they're like, bro, you okay? You okay, buddy? You okay? You okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. I was like, guys, nobody's injured, but I need traffic blocked, and we got this whole thing going on. Anyway, so I get everything done. Of course, I'm irritated to high heaven because a simple traffic stop has now turned into me working a full accident, and it's turned into a nightmare for me. I get back to the office, and there's Casey standing on the corner, pacing back and forth, very, 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 very upset with me. Glad that I'm okay. But she was so worried because in her mind, she was thinking the worst. Casey is a phenomenal dispatcher. Um, she is just top shelf. She's helped out with investigations. She did when I was doing background checks or criminal investigation. She was my little cyber sleuth, getting on social media and helping me track people down. Casey, it was a wonderful experience working with you. You taught me so much about being a telecommunicator and all the things that you go through, and you really helped kind of bridge that gap and that knowledge for me. And I really think that that you helped make me a better police officer. So Stephanie, Nick, Casey, and Derek, I'll y'all are just a small representation of a group that just this week especially, but every day somebody should be telling y'all what a difference y'all have made and what a blessing you are to the team. So if that hasn't happened, y'all, from the Cowboy Criminologist to you, thank you so much for what you do. Your job is not easy, and I think people underestimate how hard it is to do your job. But I want to thank y'all for having a servant's heart. I want to thank y'all for seeking out the knowledge and the training to be the best at your job. So, for those of y'all watching, if you know a dispatcher, telecommunicator, first responder, y'all send them a thank you. And if you would, repost this on your social media as a thank you to telecommunicators all over the nation. They do not get the recognition that they deserve, but they are often crucial in helping in emergency situations and also in investigations. So, y'all, once again, thank you very much. This is Derek Judd, the Cowboy Criminologist. Happy Telecommunicator Appreciation Week to all the telecommunicators out there. Y'all stay safe.